it like when Abraham Lincoln comes to town? Stick around and let's find out. Welcome to Maestro Heights. Greetings, everyone. This is Gail Macinda with Maestro Heights. As always, we would really appreciate it if you'd comment below when you learn something new or have a question or comment as we go along. And of course, please subscribe and click the notification bell so you'll know every time we upload a new video. Okay, let's get started. Today, our very special guest is Michael Krebs. He is an actor and most known for his stellar portrayals of Abraham Lincoln. His work as Lincoln can be seen in movies such as The Field of Lost Shoes, on television, on C-SPAN, personal appearances, and so many other venues. So long it would use all of our time together to list them all. So, welcome to Maestro Heights, Michael Krebs.
Thanks for having me, Gail.
I've had the joy of watching you perform as Lincoln and found it very easy to believe that I was actually watching Lincoln. We all know what Lincoln looked like from the photos, but of course there's no movies. Aside from your obvious physical similarities, how do you, as an actor, develop the mannerisms, the speech cadence, and things like that that actually help us to see and hear Lincoln?
I think it's in the language. Whenever I'm in the heart of memorizing something, it's just the cadence. It's the beauty of writing. I think it's easy to interpret when he's ribbing, when he's making a metaphor, an analogy to something else. It's just, to me, it's a little bit like Shakespeare. And that's how I think Lincoln was influenced by the writings of Shakespeare. So I think it's kind of in his writing, the rhythm of it. So I find it easy to interpret. And with the stories behind him and his jokes and everything else, I think it's kind of an easier character to interpret because there's just so much written about him. We know so much about him. I can imagine what it was like for Lincoln to stand there and hold that with the skylights above him and Oak or whoever was taking the photograph, Brady. It was, Lincoln was joking all along about the photographs. So I kind of understand what it was like for him to stand still for 30, 45 seconds to have these pictures taken. And he was the most photographed president. I think that makes it a little easier to understand him as well.
You know, thinking about pictures, I know that people come up to you and ask for pictures a lot as well. Do they address you as Mr. President or Mr. Lincoln, or how does that often happen?
Well, I think if you're going to coax the person that you want to take the photograph with, you're going to try to address him as properly as possible. So I would say 9 times out of 10, it's Mr. President. This is my daughter, Michelle. She's in the 5th grade. We'd really appreciate taking a picture with you today. And usually I take a picture with Michelle and her mom and her dad, and then I take a picture with just Michelle. And it's just beautiful. I mean, I can't imagine anybody that gets more of a red carpet just by name when I'm welcomed into communities wherever I go than to have that honor of that name and how people want to respect that name.
Why do you think people are so eager to connect with Lincoln that way, in that personal way? I mean, they know that it's not Lincoln, but they still want that personal connection.
I think it's his ability to relate to everyone. I think everybody can find some common ground with Lincoln. Some people have suffered losses in their life. They can relate to that, the loss of a mother or a father, or the loss of a sister like Lincoln had. There's many losses. There's always ability to get back up, and his drive in politics, what brought him into politics. I think he's just the very heart and soul of our nation. It's what we hope to be. And it's only more interesting that this incredible man comes along at the apex of our nation's history, because there could be no question about it. the end of slavery and the Civil War was the turning point. It's where we redefined ourselves as a nation.
Do you prefer the scripted portrayals or the informal conversations that come up when you're portraying Lincoln?
The scripted material is a joy because we worked hard to make this script effective, comedy and drama. So I think every performer likes to put their venue out there and then engage the audience with what they thought about it. So I don't know which I really appreciate more, because I love the laughter. I love the audience when they're engaged in the show and they're writing the script with us. But I also remember many great conversations and questions too. So you get a little bit, I guess the common question is, don't you get tired of doing the same script over and over again? No, because you can't imagine what the before and after of doing that show brings to you, and the community you're in, and the history and the knowledge they have of Lincoln. And many places I go, they have that story of Lincoln. Lincoln was here. He sat in that seat. He came to our town. So it's amazing to me. There's even a place, I remember I found out about this when I was going back and forth to Galesburg doing the rehearsing for the debates, that there's actually a little town called Toulon, Illinois. Have you heard of Toulon?
Oh, yes.
What is the population? 500 maybe? And they still have the office that Lincoln visited to have his tooth pulled. And we know that Lincoln had really good teeth. And I don't know, it must be a little bit like the James Bond car, you know, like there's 12 of them in existence and each one claims to be the real one. Is this the real tooth of Abraham Lincoln that they have at this mini museum at Toulon? But even down to that Lincoln stopped here to have a tooth pulled one day. That's, to me, the magic of what my work doing as Lincoln. I get to go to visit all these places and find out these gems of stories.
Well, you were just mentioning the debates and that series that was sponsored and recorded by C-SPAN. That was in 1994. Is that correct? Yes. And for those who may not know, you beautifully portrayed Lincoln in the fifth debate, which was held in Galesburg, Illinois. What was that experience like for you, that whole recording of that debate, as an actor, but also as an American?
Well, it was incredible because I had come to the decision in 1992 that I really wanted to find a play that I could do about Lincoln. I thought maybe I could grow the beard, maybe at the age of, what was I then, 34, 35 years old, maybe somehow or another I could pull this off. It was going to be done with makeup. But even in developing the script, and we were actually had worked in it in Galesburg and got Deanne Heck to get involved to be our Mary Todd Lincoln in the premiere. We were developing that script and rehearsing it when we found out about the debates. And with that connection I already had developed in Galesburg, I was able to audition for Lincoln, and through the help of the director, Ted Hipley, who just did an incredible job of directing us in that. And what's more magical about that presentation that happened in Galesburg with this fifth debate is the audience, our audience that was participating in the debate, was just as well rehearsed as Larry Deemer and myself, who played Stephen Douglas. It was just wonderful to have that interchange with the well-rehearsed group. It just wasn't Larry and I on stage. That was the magic of 300 or 400 people getting involved in Galesburg and making something look as realistic as it did. And the magic of the Galesburg debate was we had the only actual debate site. That beautiful backdrop of the old main building at Knox College, that's it. That's all there is left of these debates and the appropriate backdrop. I was born and raised in Freeport, Illinois. And I remember asking my mother one day, where did they debate? and she pointed across the street to a factory. It was Burgess Factory. And they had built that factory right there on the same site that Lincoln and Douglas had debated on. And you found out about that with all the debate sites that, well, we think it was here, it was closer to the river. So there's markings for everything, but just having that history of being able to sit in the same room that Lincoln and Douglas sat in the Knox College, and then to go out the window and just recreate the whole Lincoln-Douglas debates that day was just incredible. Another magic part that happened for us is Doug Wilson was still teaching at Knox College at the time, a Lincoln author, written several books about Lincoln. And I remember hearing once or twice he'd leave the window open and listen to Larry and I debate. And I remember a question came up, and I don't think I got it from Wilson himself, but we were wondering what made the debates last 3.5 hours or 3 hours. And we had done everything we could with audience reaction and everything, and just couldn't bring it up to 3 hours. And Doug Wilson came up with a simple answer for us: barkers. There were 15,000 people in the audience that day, and they had set up wagons, like 1/3, one halfway back in the audience. And these men would stand on these wagons and listen to what Lincoln or Douglas was yelling to the audience. And then he would relay it to the other 7,000 or 8,000 people that were there that day. So even Lincoln and Douglas had to use the audience to that effect, that they had to give time for the barkers to relay what was saying. It was just an incredible experience to have all these elements play into it. So,
has your opinion or understanding of Lincoln changed through the years, or how has that morphed as we've gone along?
I don't think you can pick up Lincoln early in life and ever not refer him to everything that happens in your life from that moment forward. Yeah. Ever since I started to study him in depth, I was already experiencing some of his victories and defeats at that stage in his life. Like the Lyceum address, when Lincoln spoke up about his abhorrence of slavery. This all begins in Lincoln when he's 23 years old, and he becomes a more fervent supporter of the abolitionist movement. And just to pick him up at that stage of my life, it was just interesting to kind of relate. Yeah, I kind of know what he's going through at this time in his life. Yeah, must be something. But I was never able to relate to his life completely because I didn't have 4 children and I've never married. So I'm more married to my occupation than anything else. So I guess my understanding of life and everything it can have to offer you kind of comes through Lincoln's ability to write about it.
What motivates you to continue to portray Lincoln as you've gone through these years and as we look into the future?
I think it's the response I get day to day. You can't understand how important this is. The response I get is, boy, is that ever relevant to today? Boy, could we use that kind of understanding today, with everything being so partisan, and the brilliance of Lincoln. And I think people that even have a mild understanding of what Lincoln accomplished understood that ability to speak and compromise and to do something really important. And I guess that's why I constantly find relevance today and why I want to keep doing it, because I keep getting to go to new places and finding out more. So it's a constant learning thing. And I think now there's nothing else I really want to invest my time in. It's amazing to me in the short lifetime that he had. Mm-hmm. 56 years old, that there's just so much yet to be tapped into.
Mm-hmm. What do you think Lincoln's gift to us is for the future as we move on?
With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. I think that last paragraph of the second inaugural sums it all up. It's all Lincoln's hopes for the future. I think in 6 minutes, he's finally able to sum up his thoughts about what has happened and our ability to move forward from that point on. Everybody refers to the Gettysburg Address as being that birth of a new nation. And I think it was, but I don't think Lincoln understood the importance of that day and how it would affect the rest of our history. But I think he hoped in the second inaugural, that is what he would be remembered for.
Well, our time together has been delightful. I thank you, Michael Krebs, for being with us today and for your continued work in bringing Abraham Lincoln to all of us.
Well, thank you so much, Gail, for having me. A pleasure to always take care of Galesburg, my favorite town in Illinois.
I'm kind of partial to it, too. I will put the links for the Maestro Heights lesson about the Lincoln-Douglas debates down in the description box below. And I'll also include all of the contact information for Michael Krebs. And I hope that you will take advantage of that and arrange for him to appear in your area. I assure you, you'll be glad you did. Remember to subscribe and like and share this video. And as always, guys, remember, we learn from the past, but we don't live there. Go be awesome today and make your own history. Bye for now.